Hey there, and welcome to the Alignment Keys. My name is Tina, and one of the keys that I use in my practice to help people find their passion and their purpose is the soul contract. So I created this channel to bring forward celebrities that have crossed over to the other side and help bring forward their messages they want to share with you, show them their chart and the things that they want you to know about their life here through their soul contract. And today we have a very special guest, somebody who has recently crossed over. I normally wouldn't do somebody so quickly. I think Bob Saget I ended up doing fairly quickly after his transition, but this was a lady who achieved a great level of consciousness in this life, and she was ready to go. She didn't need too much time adjusting to the other side, and she's been coming through, she said, to as many people as will bring her forward. And she's just a bright light, full of love and divine mother energy, is what Olivia Newton-John is. So let's talk just a little bit about who Olivia Newton-John is, in case you've been on a rock somewhere and don't know who she is, and some island where you've not been around for the last, 70 years. So she's been famous for quite a while. Anyhow, she is I'm going to read off of Wikipedia a little bit here. So just kind of some of her background, which she doesn't really even care about that stuff. We're getting to she says, yeah, they know all that stuff, but I want to read a little bit about her background, and then we'll get to the really important things that she wants to talk about. Anyway, she was a four-time Grammy winner, had such a wonderful music career. Most of her songs were all about love. This is a pure positive energy, very sensitive soul. Songs like "If You Love Me, Let Me Know," "I Honestly Love You." I mean, just "Have You Never Been Mellow?" I mean, just these great, wonderful, emotional songs. "Let Me Be There," "Hopelessly Devoted to You." I mean, it goes on and on, right? She didn't write all these songs, but she brought the emotion to it. She brought the depth of the expression of the writing of the songs. And so she was in the movie Grease. Even when I was in choir in school, we did a whole big thing on Grease. It was so popular, and it is still the highest grossing musical film of all time. With John Travolta, one of her soulmates, he was a soulmate of hers. So she's clarified that to me right away. They've had previous lifetimes together, and this was something else. And he was the one who convinced her to do Grease. And she wants to make sure he gets credit for that as well. I think she's mentioned that in a lot of interviews and things like that. But definitely, we'll talk about, some of her insecurities. Wouldn't think somebody like her who loved performing had those, but she did. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. So again, she had all this great achievements. She was just won so many awards, too many to even mention, just super, super high achiever. But however, she did struggle with breast cancer. She had that 3 times. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what that was all about. But then when she got into her spiritual side of her chart, she became an environmental an activist, which she does not like that term activist, and we'll talk about that because she's very divine feminine. And then animal rights again, and she did create this wonderful wellness center that is what she wants her legacy to be known for. So without further ado, I am going to, as I always do, bring forward their soul contract so you can see what that looks like. So let me share my screen, please. And so here's the beautiful Olivia Newton-John. And she was a dame. So I guess, she was born in England, traveled. She really considered Australia her home because she went to school there. They had moved around. One of the really interesting things about her is that her grandfather was actually won a Nobel Peace Prize. He was a well-known physicist, but she also wants to bring forward that besides being this brilliant, brilliant man, there's a lot of brilliancy in this family. This is uh, I'll just say he was a humanitarian, helped Jews escape Germany during the Holocaust. This is a very ancestral, very long-lived, many lifetimes, a lot of healers in this family, lots of integrity and grace. Um, that is prevalent in this line that she wants to bring forward. And so she's, again, still teaching from the other side. She, okay, so again, with the charts, let's just talk briefly. If you want to know more about how I put the charts together, I always put a short introductory video down in the description box below. I also do soul contract readings, personal readings. If you would like one of those, you can go to my website. I have that link also in the description box below. I will soon be offering readings that you can have with your whole family. So we call those overlay readings, because we all incarnate with our soul families, and we play on each other's charts. So that's always fun for people to get a glimpse of not only what their chart is all about, but how they interact with their family, friends, or loved ones or significant others. Everyone kind of, usually I get when people are dating, they want to know about the other person and how they're going to relate and what kind of issues that might crop up. So I will I haven't put that on my website yet, but that will be coming soon. I just wanted to say that. So the first thing I want to talk about with Olivia's chart, her birth sign being a Virgo Libra. So you get the two things that come to mind that she was bringing forward here was her perfectionism, which she, again, can be very positive and negative. And then that Libra, that sense of justice for all. So that definitely played a part in her chart, being on the cusp of those two items. She did pass away at the age of 73, and we do see a 7s and 3s in her chart. And this is all, when I start to see all these synchronicities, this is somebody that's pretty much completed her chart and she was ready to go home, whether that was obviously not conscious. But the last bout, she had 3 bouts of cancer here. You see that in her physical karma. And remember, our karma is not a punishment. It is what we chose, and it is our opportunities for growth. But it can bring in things that we would consider negative. And the reason is that we want to transmute that negative energy into positive energy and come into the positive aspects of these numbers. So 3 times she had cancer. And the last time she had cancer, it lasted she really was in stage 4 for quite a while. And she was, again, kind of this pioneer in a lot of ways. And we'll talk about that because it comes from a spiritual side of her chart with these 5s, which is pioneer energies. But that last bout of cancer I wanted to bring forward was about 5.5 years, which is kind of fits right in with her other side of the karma, which is her opportunities for growth. And I do want to say that she talks about her friend who is a very devout Buddhist. And when she first got cancer, he said, "Congratulations, you are going to grow so much from this." And so, again, she is this great positive person. And obviously not everybody is positive all the time. And I want to say that, again, when I bring celebrities through, it's not to put them on a pedestal, it's to show you the humanity side of them. It's just that because people know so much about them, when I bring up their numbers, you can see how it really played out for them in their life, because everybody's so, they're so publicly and aware of it. It isn't to put anybody on a pedestal. I never am a kind of a fan type person, so I let the souls come to me that want to be showcased and are comfortable with that. She is a very private person, but she accepted her public life and did develop a sense of responsibility to others. And we're going to get into that. So I always talk about the physical side of the chart, right? So we start off, you know, in our incarnation, and we have these two triangles, and we have the physical side of our triangle that faces, you know, downward, and the upper triangle, which is the spiritual side. And because we are spiritual beings having a physical experience here. And so we start out on the physical side, and once we work through that, then we bring in some of that spiritual. We start to work through that spiritual side of the chart, and people bring in their numbers at different times. It, you know, it all depends on the soul. And I talk about this, how many lifetimes they had. You could have a very similar chart to Olivia, and you're like, well, why am I not, you know, #1 on the billboards? And you know, it's just everybody has different roles. Yeah. And these souls that become famous, it's part of, again, an experience that they wanted to have. A lot of times I usually see people with eights. You know, eights is about bringing something to society and bringing it to the masses. And when you have somebody with a 16/7, it's also bringing all different levels of people. So they're chameleons, they can fit in with so many different people, and they're very authentic in their approach. Another person that I remember doing, one of the first ones I ever did or channeled was David Bowie at the 16/7 in his physical karma. So for him, it was all about coming into this great authenticity in his life, where he would start off maybe trying to copy others, but then working into being his true authentic self. And this happened to be, again, we have our karma, our talents, our karma, which is our opportunity for growth, the negative transmuting to the positive. Then we have these talents that we chose to help us to overcome our karma. And then we have physical goals and spiritual goals. So we have things that get us out of bed in the morning, things that we're aspiring to. And Olivia was no different. So, you know, giving you a soul contract rating, if you're really unsure of where you're supposed to be in life, you know, it's something that we can bring forward as to where you're headed and what, you know, you should be focusing on, and what limiting beliefs that you need to get rid of. And so with the 16/7, she's this very, very authentic soul, but it's also about her bringing down, and again, it's a kind of a spiritual energy in her physical side, which, you know, and I think of that song, Let's Get Physical, you know, physical. Isn't that funny? Because she was here to actually bring down a lot of spiritual energy. And for her, it was about feeling things in the body, and then, you know, connecting with others and facilitating groups. This is all about, you know, bringing groups together and connecting and uniting them through her abilities. So the threes in karma for her was really about her coming into her. It's all about communication, and that's what this labyrinth means here. And I do like to see, again, that she has a lot of balance in her chart, where she has a lot of these blended energies where you have the two different numbers, and then she has some dominant numbers in her chart as well, where it's just one number. We call it the double number. And so that was just the one experience she wanted to have with these numbers, but yet she has a lot of blended. So it gives her good balance, a lot of different energies to draw off of, which helps her in her achievement. Because actually having a 3 in your karma, we call that a master number. And so it is a level of mastery to overcome that in karma. And so this was a very old soul who came here to express herself, to communicate her feelings from the very depths of her soul. This is a teacher who's teaching from her soul, who's carrying vibrations from her soul. This is about her coming into her initiative as a leader, taking, you know, leadership, having courage, being strong-willed, striving. This is the number. So again, she wouldn't start off this way. You know, she would, as a child, maybe struggle with her communication. She would also have self-worth issues, and you may not know that about her, but this is all about self-worth. When you see a number in karma, and then you have the same number in talents, that is a good sign that you will work through that in this lifetime and overcome it. So she was about teaching us about self-worth, and especially as a woman in the era that she grew up with, and this is also tied in with sexuality. And when she came into that piece a little bit later on, like I said with the song, Let's Get Physical, that was a little bit harder for her because she, again, um, some of her upbringing was conservative, and she had this good girl image. We'll talk about that, which comes from the fives, and it's this people pleasing and fear of speaking your truth. And that would be keeping her a little bit small because she, again, threes want to express their sexuality, but she was a little bit reluctant to that, being that uh, type of persona. We talk about the sevens. I say they make great actors. They're very magnetic, which she was. The more she opens her heart, because sevens is all about the heart, that would make her even more magnetic. So that's why people just loved her from all over. Is this great, that she was very authentic. There wasn't very, and this is what the threes also with the self-worth issue was, but it gave her this great humility, and she never took herself too seriously, never fed into the hype, and she listened to advice that people gave her. Now, she always wasn't this way, and that's what she wants to bring up as well. This is about developing it. So with the threes, you can bring in a lot of impulsivity and patience, which also comes from the five. And then not listening well. She became a really good listener, and this is threes strive to be great listeners. It's tied to the ears. And so we recommend people, threes and karma, to sing, to express themselves, to speak. And when she has fives, that's also about speech. And so she was here to become this great communicator through her speech. So that is definitely somebody I can tell you who worked through their chart, was a high achiever. This was a highly evolved soul, and she was able to serve and do many things in this lifetime to also serve others. So the threes are also tied to money, and it's about making a lot of money, which she did. And again, as I said, it's also tied to self-worth. And so she ended up having to sue the company that produced Grease because she was not getting the royalties that she deserved. And so this was a great thing for her to do with somebody with threes, because they're acknowledging their self-worth, that I'm not being compensated appropriately. And so she took that initiative to do that. Now, she was given these beautiful talents, the 21-3. And I talk about this in Leonard Nimoy's chart because the 21 is tied to the Shin, the live life and prosper, which is the divine mother energy, divine feminine. She exudes that, right, in her beauty and in her femininity and her grace and integrity. Very, very, this is a mother letter. This is high level stuff here. When you see these 21s, gave her great endurance. She had the energy to do whatever she needed to do. She would not be lacking in energy. And then having that great positive side of the threes, where that would give her this able to communicate well. Obviously, that wasn't always the case, but she worked through it very early in life, which is why she started achieving so early in life. And it really helped her to open up her channel. Now, then, even though we have this beautiful 21-3 in her talents, we do get some of the negative side, and 21s are also tied to hardship because it's about learning how to endure and overcome. And so she did have hardship. Her parents divorced, which was very taboo in those days, and not a lot of people did do that. So she had some hardship from that. And then again, the cancer and things that came on later would also bring in a level of hardship, but that was all part of the learning process for her and part of this lifetime, because this 15, 6, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but this is tied to, in this lifetime, part of her goal was to have as many experiences as she could fit in and learn and grow from them, including taking on many obstacles. So that was also part of her goals. So that was something that she chose, and it did open her up to a lot of why, diseases happen, and she understood the tie to stress and how we handle our stress. And so she was again, the fives are all about pioneer energy. And so she was bringing through and trying new things. She was one of the first people, because the fives are about speaking your truth, that would bring forward talking about her cancer. That was not something that people did in those days. They kept quiet, but she wanted to talk about it, wanted to make people aware of her journey. And that again is just a wonderful, again, somebody who was in her spiritual side and becoming more conscious. So she went through that, that was, so it was 1992, and then she ended up passing away in 2022, which is 30 years. Again, we talk about that, and I talked about that earlier, and then she had that last bout for 5 years. So we also want to talk about this pioneer energy, as far as she was also one of the first crossover stars with that song, Let Me Be There, which was country. She was not a country singer. She was the first person to cross over into that. That's part of this beautiful pioneer energy that gives you this strength. You come into the strength of trying new things that other people don't do. And so she did tackle that in this life as well. She received a lot of backlash from other country singers, but she did want to mention that Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn were two that really stood up for her. And those are two women of great integrity, and they helped, diffuse any negativity that was being spewed about her crossover. And it opened the door for other people to think along those lines and cross over into other genres. So she was one of the first to do that. I also wanted to talk about, this pioneer energy. And so bringing forward, one of the things that she did was, again, part of her journey here was to learn these lessons, but then to bring down from spirit and manifest it in the physical plane, spiritual concepts. So she created this, great wellness center, which catered to a lot of what would be considered woohoo or alternative therapies, because everybody heals with different modalities. And so she had acupuncture and yoga and art therapy and these wonderful modalities, because she wanted to treat the whole person. She understood that there was a lot more going on than just the physical. It's all of it. It's your spiritual body, your emotional body, and your physical body. And that's what this 21-3 is all about, blending all of that energy, your intelligence, your strength, and your endurance. But it's also teaching at a soul level and recognizing our spiritual side. So again, she was this, I talked about this big positive, this, the positive side comes from the 15s. Positivity is just radiating from her. She's got this beautiful Venus energy, 11, 11s are tied to Venus. And obviously she was so beautiful. That's in her talents. You can just obviously see how gorgeous she was. And this also gave her this capacity to build a business, a body of knowledge, some truth, and build on that. Well, that was what helped her to build, because when you see somebody with an 11-2 in their charts, they come here being it's all about structure. And so they come here without, they put not only do we have the veil on us, but they come here kind of as this open container. And so they're here to build structure. And so her dad wanted her to play piano, but she couldn't learn piano because, again, she had this threes in karma, which makes it really hard. You're kind of can get stuck in this canal. And then she has the 11 twos, which she doesn't learn like everyone else. So she doesn't learn in a very structured way. It has to be in a different, more creative and flowy way. And so she gave it up. She said, oh, it was one of her regrets that she really wish she would have learned it and stuck with it. But it would just be that she would have needed to find a different approach to it. 11 twos are extremely intelligent people. They just learn differently. So they can sometimes struggle in school because, she was like, oh, I'm not good in science or whatever. But it's because, again, it's about teachers try to teach inside this box, and not everybody there's different numbers for people who learn. I learn well with structure because I have a certain number in my chart that is all about structure and geometry, and I can learn as somebody else learned. When you have these 11 twos, that is, again, this very unstructured way of learning. And so, they're here again to show you a different way. And I think she's a very inspirational person. She did things her own way, and that was all part of her talents to help her achieve her spiritual goals, which is, again, all about learning these lessons, overcoming these obstacles. So it would give her this energy to pull off of thinking outside the box. And so that's where she was doing herbs. She was doing all of these different things. She became a big proponent of cannabis. She's like, well, I never thought I would be talking about this. It was so taboo back in the day, and it was so put down by, again, this fear, when it can really help people. And so she obviously was making a big spokesperson for making change with that. And we need those people here to open our eyes to looking at things from different perspectives. And again, thinking outside of the box. Not everything is all bad or all good. There's different levels to everything. There's different levels of truth. And she was very much in that realm of it. So also, I'm just looking at my notes. Oh, and so the fives are also tied to the environment. And she was, and this is about learning to eat clean, and eights are about taking care of the body. And so you have these two energies, really for her, it would be very important for space clearing and meditation. And she talks a lot about that. If you listen to her interviews. So she was very much on that and understood the value of it. And that's why she put that in her wellness center as well. So I just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. I have a few more things I want to talk about. So let's talk about some of her issues, because no one's perfect and she struggled just like all of us. So the 15-6 brought in a lot of insecurity. She had a lot of body issues, not feeling good about her body. The Virgo, just being a Virgo alone gives her this kind of a perfectionism. And that can be just always seeing the flaws in yourself. And so she would definitely struggle with insecurity, and she being very, very insecure. And the 11 twos would give her this, the twos especially would give her this. It's all about emotions. And so she had some very tumultuous relationships with people because she was to learn emotional resiliency. And even though it was in her talents, she could still, threes and karma will give you this knee-jerk reaction, and you can be, it's very this fire energy, it's Mars energy, and you can be, fight or flight comes through big time with that. And so that's why she had tumultuous energy. And it wasn't until she was in her 50s, and I want to say close to the fives and 57, close, that she found her real life partner, that the love of her life. And so, it was just, these lessons are meant to be learned. They don't always come easy to everyone. And it takes time. It takes time for this woman to be the brilliant soul that she was. And what was her soul destiny, which is the accumulation of all of her numbers. That's what overall we came here to learn. And so she was really wanting in this lifetime to emotionally connect with people and bring a lasting effect to society. I mean, bring something lasting that was her own to society through this 11 twos and overcoming. So she was kind of on this very gentle spiritual journey, which really is a preparatory lifetime for her next lifetime, which will be much more into the spirituality side, is what I'm getting from her. So this is really her life in a nutshell. And again, those eights, the body consciousness, when you have eights in your chart, it's really about learning to feel in the body. Threes are about learning. We can get a lot of emotional frozenness, especially because she's so sensitive. Twos are very hypersensitive, and fives are for her to people that have these can really struggle with depression and uh, issues because they're such people pleasers and they're so sensitive and they want everyone to be happy. And this is where she struggled. This is where Let Me Be There, which is why I wanted to showcase that aspect of her. She was over giving. So when you develop, again, she was one of the first people to come open about breast cancer and talk about it. She's like, oh, here we go. Now I'm talking about breasts on, live TV. And like I said before, and she's like, well, it's breasts are, if you the underlying spirituality, it's mother energy and it's about nourishment. And she was so busy giving of herself that she wasn't replenishing herself. And that's when we develop diseases because what is it? Dis-ease. So, people, 15 sixes are, you see the spiral, you can get spiraled out of control, overdoing. She had too many projects going on, wanted to do so much for everyone else. 16s can get heavily involved in other people, and she just wanted to help everyone and save them. And that's, you're like, well, that's how we all should be. And yes, but you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you have nothing to give anyone else, because obviously then you get sick and it's for you to go within. And because again, us doing our inner work does help the world. It's not selfishness. There's a difference between being self-centered and being centered in self. And there has to be a balance there. And so that was her still over-giving, people-pleasing, wanting to love everyone and nurture everyone. But again, not, eights can struggle with taking care of themselves. And again, they can get over involved in other people's problems and issues and not learning how to put those boundaries out there. She was super empathic and just this wonderful, and everyone was attracted to her with this wonderful divine mother energy. Who wouldn't be? They just wanted her to hold them, and but she needed that back, and she did get that back from the people that loved her and sent her well wishes. So it's very reciprocal. I can't say it. Reciprocal. And that's definitely all of us here. We're all connected. And it's very important for us to lean on each other, though. And so she was somebody that would struggle asking for help. And so that was a lesson that she definitely learned here and wants to share that with you. That's okay to be not the victim, but to also take in the love and support. And I recognize that because she had talked about, she broke her sacral joint in your back. And so whenever you have back issues, remember that's tied to support. You're not supporting yourself, or others are not supporting you. And so that's a definite manifestation of that lack mentality. Threes can struggle a little bit. It's called the poverty consciousness. So they can have a lack mentality about certain things at a very subconscious level. So we have to be, again, with like the soul contract and astrology and tarot and oracle cards, we're getting this great ability to see at deeper levels of each person and where they're maybe struggling, so that we can bring these things to the surface so people can heal. But like I said, her legacy, she left a super, super wonderful, great legacy. She's very proud of that and should be, and she sends nothing but love. No regrets I hear from her. Loving everything, all of her experiences. She's so wonderfully grateful to take to her next in her next lifetime when she's ready for that little project. But I want to bring through some messages from her, and I'm being drawn right away to the Oracle of the Fairies. What a beautiful fairy, and she's a divine mother. Oh, and that's so funny. Got a few other cards mixed up in here that that is interesting. But we're gonna shuffle them anyways and see what comes up. And so one of the messages she wants to share with all of you is moderation comes up. So I'm sorry, I have a lot of glare going on. And so what I see in this card initially is this wonderful green energy. And green energy is tied to the heart. She just really had this ability to connect emotionally with others, which is part of her soul destiny. Like I'd said, with her 8s and her 7 inner physical goals was also to open up her heart. And so we see the moon in the background tied to the 2 in her chart, which is moon energy, moderation, balancing out those emotions, listening to your emotions. It's not about shutting them down or judging them, but it's about learning what they mean and knowing how to regulate them. So, and I like how there's 3 candles to represent that karmic side to her chart. This is just a wonderful energy. So it looks like all of this wonderful, good, nourishing food, flowers, the creative, nourishing that creativity. We think about flowers blooming, blossoming, and all of this wonderful magic. We think of that song, You Have to Believe in Magic. Oh, that's a great song. I just still love listening to a lot of her music. Is there something that you shouldn't be eating? Try to eat mindfully and healthily. Although the fairies say that a little bit of what you fancy is fine, because again, you can do things in extremes. I can struggle with that myself, and that I have 5, so it's really important for me to take care of my body because I'm really sensitive. I can have food allergies or things, people with 5s can struggle. My skin's really sensitive, but you can go too far. And then it takes a little bit of fun. You have to have things, if they bring you joy, it's okay to indulge. It's just, again, finding that balance and moderation. And for me, I always talk about the middle way, that middle road. That's something Jesus always talked about. And so these 3 cards, she does want me to bring them up because, again, they are very significant to what she wants to talk about. And so we talk about delight and the chickadee and, the flock, finding your flock, your tribe, and just to bring joy to each other and support. And then simplicity, the lightness, being light in the heart. The feather represents lightness and angels, and just enjoying the simplicity of things. Again, that 15-6 can get very complex and you're doing too much. And, it's creativity is simple and supposed to be beautiful and gentle. And when you're talking about feminine energy, which is the heart of creativity, but then again, you bring in this fire energy of security and needing to feel secure. So, and the warmth, and I love the picture there in the dark night, the stars, needing that warmth and that home, feeling of at home in this place where you can go and recharge and be completely safe. And you know what I am trying to say, where nobody can get to you. Again, she had 5s, which you can take on a lot of other people's negativity. I talk about this a lot in Andy Gibbs' chart because he was very sensitive and there were things he should have been doing. But again, we're learning. We're all learning through these lifetimes. There's no judgment here as to anybody's life and what they did or didn't do, and nothing is because, oh, I didn't eat right so I got this, or being fearful of any of that, because a lot of this is tied to the experiences that we want to have, and not everything is going to be happy. It just doesn't work that way, because you have to have these, you come here for the polarity of it all, and aides definitely come here for the polarity, light and dark, black and white. They want to experience it all, because that gives you all these different great perspectives. And again, with her 11-2 in her chart, she gets to see things from a lot of different angles now. And what a wonderful way to learn. You have to learn by experience. You can't learn just by reading a book or telling somebody. You have to, 11-2s have to do it on their own. And she was no different. So the next I'm being drawn to is work your light. So what else does Olivia want to talk about here? Oh, here we go. Ancestral patterns. We talked about this. Kurt Cobain, there was some ancestral patterning going on here in his reading that I did. So break the chain, healing, rewriting the future. So the things that you can do today will affect you in the future. And so one of the things that was coming to me, when I was channeling the energy, is whenever you do something that, and I mean, we all have addictions and things like that, that we get attached to. But what you're doing when you do it is you're sabotaging your future self. You may not see immediate, results of it, but it will affect you down the road. And so, the ancestral patterns come into play here. And again, overgiving can also be an ancestral pattern, trying to overachieve, people pleasing. Obviously, her grandfather physicist, and if you read about her background and her family, you'll see what I'm talking about, lots of achievement. And so in here, you can see Jupiter is in the sky, which is all about expansion and doing that in a healthy way. And so then she's got, we have the cave, and then her outside in this beautiful pink flowing dress. But again, you can see the lines coming out of the darkness and heading into the light and heading into doing the healing work, because whenever we all do our healing work as well, even in this lifetime, it affects other lifetimes. Remember, we're multidimensional beings. So any work that you're doing for yourself affects your family, it affects everything in your DNA. So I highly encourage people to you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for others, because we are all connected. So now I'm being drawn to, of course, the mermaid deck, because she does exude some mermaid energy as well as this fairy energy with that wonderful feminine divine mother. Let's see what we get here. Yeah. And she wants to say about the mermaids is again about the water being emotion, and swimming in the emotion, but being aware of it and being that person who doesn't overreact, showing compassion. She has this great ability to show such great loving compassion. Those are the kind of emotions. So here we have this beautiful card with this beautiful mermaid in blue, which is tied to the throat chakra, and that beautiful singing voice of her, and how important gratitude is for your manifestations. In order to manifest, you have to have gratitude. And then here, the hands clasped together. Hands are so healing. And then conserving that energy, putting them together. So just a beautiful, beautiful message of how important gratitude is. And she highly recommends, if you don't do a gratitude journal, to do that, or do some type of, especially in the evening before you go to bed, is to go to sleep with the energy of gratitude. It just makes things so much easier for your manifestations and for creating those manifestations. And of course, because she was an animal lover. And the reason again, she wanted me to, don't forget about talking about, she did not she didn't like fight the words fighting against cancer or being an activist because it talks about the negative. We don't want to fight anything. We want to work in cooperation. We don't want the war on drugs, fighting cancer. The cancer is a part of us. And so it's never about rejecting anything. It's about integrating. And she was one of the first people that I know of to talk about this. And she just wants to love it. And again, it's a part of us. It's here to help us. Everything, I'm going to do a Matt Kahn quote right now. One of his books was "Everything is here to help you." And it's for you to gain that greater understanding of why it's coming into your life and what it's meant to show you. And I had two cards come out, which Elephant Spirit, oh, great wisdom, right? It's a beautiful, no surprise here that this would come out. And this is a 25, which adds up to 7. And she had 2, a 5, and a 7 in her chart. And so it's all about learning from the past. She did a great job of evolving her compassion, her empathy, learning self-care. She was practicing much of that and talking about it, speaking her truth. And it's really important for us to learn from the past, not repeating those old patterns. It's really, important if things are happening in your life over and over, to recognize that, oh, what's this? I've seen this before. Okay? Sometimes it does come back around because the universe is like, are you sure you learned that lesson? Are you sure? Here's something else. I'm going to give you the same thing and see how you react to it. So, and then again, talking about her environmental list, vulture spirit. Nothing is wasted. And this is a 63, which adds up to 9, which is endings, but she had the 6 and a 3 in her chart. And so the vulture spirit, nothing is wasted. So being very conscious of the earth and, finding that balance between a lack mentality, because there is enough for everybody, but also people exploiting and the greed and trying to balance that out, because that's the ego can never have enough, and people who are exploiting the earth are taking too much and not giving enough back. There has to be a balance there. And so that's what she wanted to bring forward, is not just finding that balance in your life. And so again, she wants to talk about environmentalists caring for the earth, caring what happens, but not in a negative way, because not creating more separateness, is coming together, have communication, right? She was all about learned communication. So I am being drawn to the wisdom of the oracle. I think that would be appropriate next. Just enjoying her energy. It's just so peaceful. Oh, this is a wonderful one. 29, which adds up to 11. And that is breathe. And look at her meditating, and she's talking about that, how important that is. The breath is so important, and how we get stress, which is really a fear reaction, and then we don't breathe. And then, if you want to talk about the scientific ramifications of that, it affects our vagus nerve, it affects oxygen in our blood, which is what, drives our body, our fluids properly, and gives us nutrients and makes us thrive. So breathing, and that's what a meditation can teach you, how to breathe, deep breathing. And she also wants to say there's many different ways to meditate. And this is something too that people are like, oh, my mind's too busy. She had 5s in her chart in karma, and when you have 5s in your chart, it's so hard to shut your mind down. And she was like, 15-6 is another thing, insecure, all these negative thoughts coming in because you're just all over the place. So it takes time. Nobody just can clear their mind unless you're Eckhart Tolle. I think it's totally. But it's taken him years to do it, to be able to clear his mind. And you can't do it by trying to do it. You have to surrender to it. Again, that's the ego trying to control everything. And so there's so many different ways you can meditate. You can get a guided meditation where you're listening to somebody and they're guiding you through it. Those people with really overactive minds, it's a really good place to start. And then and a place where they'll take you through some breathing exercises and you're listening to somebody. And then you can go into more deeper ones where Joe Dispenza does a really great one where it's focusing your energy and pulling it up, because where you focus your energy is where the energy goes. And so he develops, he really brings in this great balance between the science and the spiritual. So he explains things in such a great way. So there's many different ways. Really encourage you to seek out a practice that will work for you. You know, even, you know, for me, I run and I do different breathing exercises while I run. Wim Hof, if you ever heard of him, I think I'll list some of the names below, because he's got this great breathing exercise that I'm working on now, because I didn't realize I came across this great YouTube was talking about your breathing and how we tend to hyperventilate when we run. And then you're building up the carbon dioxide, and then that again, you're not as strong. And so I realized I was doing that. And so Wim Hof has some great ways to teach you about breathing exercises to get that oxygen in your blood before you exercise. And then there's great, like I said, there's so much out there now that we have this technology with YouTube to give you so many wonderful ideas to help you with your breathing, because the breath is the life force, it's life force energy. And so here we're going to bring, she wants to talk about creating space and what that means. Number 38, she had 3s and 8s and adds up to her 11. And so creating space, and you see all this beautiful, just wonderful golden energy shining right from the, you know, soul. She does want me to look at that, being drawn to this. So we make sure we get the messages she wants to share with you out. And so, okay, so here it is. Make room for your dreams. Create a space for new desires by learning how to be happy now. We all want certain things in our life to change, and it is up to each of us to do something about it. If you apply action from a position of truly wanting change, you will create evidence that desire as manifestation of change. Once you notice something you would like to change, take a breath and say thank you. Recognizing what you want to change brings you more clarity on what you would like to change it to. Your job is to create the space for your dreams and desires to fill. Do this and you will begin to receive direction and wisdom. Create this space by coming into balance, meditating, focusing on the moment, or of thinking of a person, animal, place, or situation that makes you smile. So getting into a nice high vibration state. Feel the smile stretch through your body and relax, knowing that all you desire is on its way. You have empowered your whole being because you don't need conditions to change to feel joyous in the present. You are bathing in unconditional love. Breathe it in and enjoy how good you feel. Who else would bring a message besides Olivia of that beautiful energy that she just exudes? And she would like to end with a healing mantra for everyone. Let's see what she wants to bring forward. I can feel something wants to pop here. Something she wants to bring up that she struggled with, and that was impatience. So this is all about soothing impatience. And so we're going to read about this. This is from the Matt Kahn Healing Mantra deck. And this is again, having an affirmation that you speak, because we want you to understand that the conscious mind is a sponge, or the subconscious mind is a sponge, and it's open for you to program it any way you want. So as we grow, we take on all these very limiting beliefs because people are telling us things that, they were told that, don't really mean. So, I always encourage people to listen to affirmations, subliminal tapes at night. They help you to change your perspective and to change this wiring, because we, get up in the morning and you think about what happened yesterday, and then especially if it was something negative, and then it recreates all these same emotions. And so you keep creating the same patterns over and over. And so these things can be very helpful in creating newness, and new ways to manifest. So letting go of the past. That 11-2 in her chart was all about that. And I do want to say, when she also, that was tied to the Mayan calendar and this very South American area. And when she did find her love late in life, she's giving us hope to all of us still searching. But they got married in an Inca ceremony in Peru. And I was like, oh, is that just so interesting? We talk about that ancestral DNA thing. So she probably was some queen, back then. Okay, so this is all about this mantra affirmation will be all about soothing impatience. So when impatience is soothed, each perceivable barrier becomes an opportunity to be more aligned with your soul by slowing down. In the soothing of impatience, you no longer see moments of pause or delay as conspiring against you. Instead, you realize they are giving you time for inner reflection, where life's deepest meaning can be uncovered even in the most ordinary of circumstances. This mantra is ideal for becoming more grounded, easing frustrations, and releasing blame. Ooh, the blame game. So the mantra is, there is nothing to do but wait. There is nothing to do but wait. There is nothing to do but wait. And just saying that and reprogramming the subconscious gives you can relax, because when we're impatient or we get bored, that's just the ego coming in. You should be able to just sit and relax and still feel very joyous and, calm and peaceful. It's, it's the egos that, oh, you should be doing something. Oh, how come this isn't getting done? And throwing all of these things at you like that. So she wants to, I'll put this in the description box along with all the oracle cards I pulled. And so we need to say this week. This week's mantra. There's nothing to do but wait. And let's get this reprogramming wired so that you can get back into alignment with your life, so that you can meet your manifestations head on. That's what we're here for. So with that, thank you to Olivia. She sends so much love to everybody again. And she is here for us, as she's always been, her whole let me be there. So thank you all for stopping in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing is free. And I'm so grateful to those who are watching, and so grateful to those who have subscribed, so we can continue to bring the messages. If there's somebody you would like to hear from, please put it in the description box, because sometimes, or the comment section, because sometimes that will bring somebody through for me that usually it will kind of push it forward. Once I see it, then all of a sudden it will start coming in more clear. So sometimes you can help me out as well. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you again for being here. And again, alignment is where the magic happens. So thank you so much. And I will see you in the next video.